There's an old expression that says the apathetic throng sees the world in its anguish, age its wrong, and dare not speak. Well, that's what's happening in our society today, is that too many people, organizations, institutions, and individuals are apathetic. But I'm pleased today to know that we've got an institution, an entity, and an individual who are not apathetic, particularly as it relates to voting and being involved in the community. So I'm glad to have with me today Mr. Terrence Bibb.
Thank you.
V101.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Point
sir.
0.7. Which has been instrumental in bringing to us Mr. Michael Baisden, of the Michael Baisden Show. And one initiative that Michael has going on. Well, you tell me about it. Why is he coming in? What's your involvement?
Well, Michael Baisden reached out to me about 2 weeks ago, and we were talking on the phone, and we were talking about how important it is, especially with the upcoming election, that we really get out and we get people fired up to get back out and vote. Because, let's be completely honest, we've gone through a period over the last couple of years where we've just let voting go on the wayside. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not doing anything in our community. It's not changing it. And we've got to change that mindset. I mean, even here in the state of Georgia, we've got Stacey Abrams, who will become the first African-American governor in the country. We just had the election in Florida. We see how things are going there. So there are things that we're doing as a people all over the country. And he just felt like it was time to get back out, get people fired up like he did before, and get people out there to vote and make some change.
Well, I'm glad you said like he did before, because he was very, very instrumental. And I want to piggyback on what you said, because, voting makes a difference.
Right.
One vote, one man, one vote makes a difference. And so, unfortunately, because once you realize what had to happen, so we as African Americans could vote, then it seemed like everybody would be at the polls 2 days before, to cast their ballots. But be that as it may, then I think it's extremely important. I want to applaud both you and your organization, V101.7, and Michael Baisden, Real Talk Radio, or whatever his expression is, for initiating this project. And we are now here at the Tubman African American Museum in Macon, Georgia, and I think it's befitting. Now, I understand Michael has a book.
He has a new book out. I don't remember the name of the title, but he's going to have that with him while he's here, and he's going to be talking about that. But like I said, his main thing is really talking about the different things, the different laws, different things that are happening behind the scenes that most people may not be aware of, or they just hadn't heard of before. So really looking forward to him doing that tonight.
Well, there are a lot of things on the scene and on top of the scene as it relates to the power of political influence and the power of voting. And we all need to realize, no excuses.
No, not at all.
There are no excuses, and too often I hear people sit back and complain about, well, they ain't gonna do right, or my vote does not matter, or it does not make a difference, or I'm not gonna take the time to do that, when it's everybody's responsibility.
I want to jump in on this for a second.
Go ahead.
It's something I talk to people all the time. Over the years, we've been conditioned, key word, conditioned, to not care as much as we used to about certain things. We've been programmed, whether it's by television or certain images, or, as you say, it's fake news. It's out there, let's be honest. So as a people, we've forgotten about how to get to the bare bones of our community. There was a point where we could do anything within our communities, and I think we've gotten comfortable, we've gotten a little taste, so we feel like, hey, I'm good. There's no need for me to really make an impact or go out and do what I'm supposed to do. But I think we've got to start again, and it's gonna take a while, because we've got a lot of young people that we've got to learn how to talk to get them excited and get them empowered about voting. But I think this is a start.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're having this conversation means that there are people that still care about our communities, and we want those things to change and grow, and it's just so much that we can do.
I just happen to be old enough, Terrence, older than you, to remember, the sacrifices, man, the sacrifices that were made in order for us to live where we want to live, work pretty much where we want to make, be in business anywhere we want to be in business. But that didn't just automatically happen.
No.
You know, there had to be some efforts. And I think one of the problems is that we don't understand the history. You know, there was a time in America where we could not vote.
Right.
You know, we were considered half a person.
Right.
So I think it behooves everybody to understand our history, and we can make a difference. It's no sense in being apathetic. You know, one man, one vote. So I too am encouraging everybody to get out and
Yes.
vote, and I too want to,
Yes.
and I'll tell him that, you know, when I get to talk to him after you, appreciate what Michael is doing, not only in Macon, Georgia, because I love it that he's doing
Right.
in Macon,
Yes, definitely,
you know,
definitely.
but throughout the country. You got the last word.
I just want to tell everybody that's watching now, start having the conversation again. It's not too late. People are not too young. You need to have that discussion again, like you said. I like what you said, our history, where we came from. That's why I like having it here at the Tubman Museum, because we're surrounded by history. People are going to be able to see some sort of history while they're here in this building. And for a community here in Macon, I'm an implant. I've been here 6 years. I see so much that we can do.
Thanks for what you're
as
doing,
a community, and how far we can grow
Right.
together, but we've got to start somewhere. So if you're listening, I urge you, make sure you learn your history, get registered to vote if you are not registered. Your vote does matter, and just go out and do it. I guarantee you, you will see the rewards later.
We'll be right back with the man himself, Mr. Michael Baisden. And while I'm thinking about it, I want to give a shout out to Mama Mia,
Yeah.
who's always involved in the community and always doing phenomenal things. And she gonna be on my show in a couple of weeks. But we'll be back with Mike.
It's Mama Mia. Let me tell you something. November 6th, important date. Are you registered to vote? Are you not registered to vote? Michael Baisden, the Bad Boy of Radio. He is in town. Get Out the Vote tour. We're going to get everybody registered. We're going to get everybody out to vote November 6th.
We're back. Now, this is not Michael Baisden, but it is Herbert Denard. Now, Michael Baisden may have been, may be influential all across the country, and we applaud him for that. But by the same token, as it relates to community involvement and encouraging people to vote and motivating African Americans in particular and the general community to do the right things as it relates to uplifting the community so that we can all do better, be better, and live better. So I'm more than a little happy. You know, a publisher and, you know, tries to impart information, although he kind of retired from that, a TV and talk show host. But, you know, the most important thing, I remember Herbert from a long time ago, to show you how involved he has been, you know, putting together an initiative for sickle cell anemia. You know, so I'm glad to have with me Mr. Herbert. Now, how you doing, brother?
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you.
Mr. Habersham?
Yes, sir. Talk a little bit about the importance of voting and why it's important that you have initiatives and projects and programs to get people out to vote.
It's very, very important. I just finished reading a book by Branch Rickey. Not Branch Rickey, I can't think of his name right now, but he reading out how many people died so that we could vote. I mean, a ton of people.
Died.
They killed a black person, Cheney, Schroeder, and Goodman in Mississippi, and all they was trying to do was vote.
Mm-hmm.
And this wasn't that long ago, because
Right.
you and I are not that old.
That's right.
I remember. Then they killed a white minister that came down. They killed untold number of black people. But some of those, remember the white woman that came down from Detroit, LaRusso or something like that?
Right, right.
She was just there helping people to vote. They killed her. But a lot of black people was involved in this voter registration. A lot of decent white people was involved in it, just to get us the right to vote. And it really hurts me.
Me too.
When I see young people, it'll make no difference. I could understand it if they was philosophical and they had read some of the great works of Thoreau and all these other people. They haven't read anything.
Right.
They
right.
just say, it don't make a difference. Why should I vote? It don't make a difference. And I think it's an awful thing. But so many black people and good white people died trying to open up doors so we could have a voice in who will be involved in trying to correct things in the community.
And that's part of the vacuum that exists, and then I think it behooves all of us, every chance we get, to tell our young people, like what Herbert just did, as it relates to kind of struggles with voting. Look, we got that responsibility. Now, Herbert is pretty active in the community, I'll give him that, and he'll probably give me the same thing. But we are standing on somebody's shoulders. There were people before us, because I grew up during the era of the colored water fountain in the back of the bus, and that didn't just happen. And too often, our young people are not familiar with that. Talk a little about the significance of knowing your history.
When I got out of the Marine Corps in 1967, I was...
let me interrupt you. He also integrated the boys,
YMCA.
The YMCA. Yeah. So this is not his first rodeo. And then I had to say that, Herbert, because that was very significant, because at one point, talk about history, we couldn't even go to the Young Men Christian Association, but Herbert and went to jail. So talk about the importance of history.
There's so many things that we've been involved in over the years to try to get involved. I remember an organization called Young Yabu, Young Adults for Black Unification.
Yes, sir.
Founded by Habersham, Alex Habersham.
Yeah.
So, but I remember I had just got out of the Marine Corps, came home, my wife was pregnant, and I went to the doctor's office. We had passed the 64 Civil Rights Bill. We had passed the 65 voting rights. All that was passed. And I went to take my wife to the doctor because she was pregnant with a child. And they said that we had to sit in this small room. This was in 67. And I said, I'm not going in there. My wife said, please, I'm pregnant. I don't want to change doctors. But this is the way it is in Macon, Georgia.
Right.
It's all over the South. The laws had been passed, but it meant nothing. It's almost like Brown versus Board of Education. That happened in 54. Integration in the schools didn't happen until the early 60s. So a lot of things that a lot of people were sacrificed in. But when you and I was growing up, we had Booker Chambers, we had Reverend Habersham, your father, we had Bill Randall, Albert Billingsley.
Reverend Keys, wasn't that a man named Reverend Keys?
Reverend J.L. Keys.
J.L. Keys, yeah.
We had all these people involved. The ministers, Van J. Malone, they was involved trying to make things happen. They looked at us as some upstarts coming in and want things right now. But they laid the groundwork. And some of them had their houses. Bill Randall had his house shot into.
Yep.
Somebody drove by and just emptied bullets in his house. All of this stuff is happening. And now we can vote. Now we can make a difference. And a lot of young people, I don't think they have a philosophical reason for not voting. I think a lot of them just don't get it and don't care.
Yeah. And I think it's important, it's incumbent upon us, like we stood on Booker Chambers and all those guys' shoulders. We need to put those young people on our shoulders, but in order to get them up there, we got to educate them and tell them about our history. And it's not just Herbert's responsibility. It's not just the minister's responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility. And we need to go forward, not backwards. And unless we get this straight, and make yourself a committee of one to get involved in the community.
If you got cousins and nieces that are young, it's a lot with the millennials. A lot of them don't vote. That's the worst group for voting. You see these old folks can't hardly walk. I hate to say old because I'm 73, and you're older than I am.
No, I'm not.
I hate to say old, but you have women in nursing homes. You have women that can't hardly walk and men that can't hardly walk, and they voted.
Yes.
Then you have young people got all the energy, everything going for them, and they are the biggest group that refuse to vote in large numbers.
Well, I want to thank you, Herbert, for everything that you've done, and I hope that everybody takes those encouraging words as it relates to voting, and we're going to make a difference. Look, I want to see voting lines wrapped around the corner, and we can make a difference. If we do that, we're going to see some results, and it's going to make a difference, and we're going to be back in a few with the man himself, Mr. Michael Baisden. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
www.makingblackpages.com.
When I started this program, I talked about the apathetic throng, sees the world in this anguish, age is wrong, and dare not speak. And one of the things that has bothered me tremendously over the years is there are a lot of influential people in America and in our communities, but they are apathetic. They don't see the need to be involved in the community. They got power and influence and all kinds of things, but they hold it close to themselves, ignoring the role that our forefathers played in making us free and in a position to make a difference. But I'm happy to tell you today that I got a young man on this show who is not apathetic, who's not a part of that throng, who thought it would not be robbery to get involved in the community and use his power, his influence, his ability to motivate, to improve the community. That person is none other than the bad boy of radio, Mr. Michael Baisden. And we want to welcome him to Macon, Georgia, but I just want to, from my heart, thank him, because I remember in the other election, man, I remember the role that you played in getting the votes out. And I know what happened, in the other midterm election too, when the vote did not come out. So welcome to Macon. Thank you for coming, and just let us know what you are doing and what you would like to see, not only in Macon, Georgia, but throughout the country.
Thank you for having me. It's very difficult to sit through that introduction, I got to tell you. You got to sit here, you got to let them give you some credit, you got to try not to smile too much. I'm happy to be here. It's great to be back on the road again. I feel like I did when I was first hustling books out of the trunk of my car when I first started back in 95.
Right.
When we were both young men back in 95. And so it's great to be back. It's good to be back for such an important cause. I never thought a midterm would have so much meaning. And maybe they've always had a lot of meaning. We just didn't pay attention to them. But they certainly have more meaning now than they ever did. So I'm happy to be here, and I feel like it's certainly necessary for me to be here.
So what are you trying, what's your ideal accomplishment as it relates to what you're doing?
Well, I just want more people to vote. That's what it comes down to. We can keep it real simple. You want more people to come out. I've been, of course, in Columbus, Atlanta. I'm on my way to Augusta and Savannah. And one thing that I've been told by all the people who know about what's happening politically is that if we just had 30% of black people come out and vote, we would be winning all of these elections.
Wow.
And so statistically, there are more Democrats registered to vote than there are Republicans, but we just don't come out. So it was great with us coming out for Barack. You're a black man, a handsome black man with some swagger, a beautiful family. Yeah. But we have to understand it's the policies that we need to be out here voting for and against. And you all can see the result of what happened when we stayed at home in the last election.
Right. Well, I appreciate that, and I know you got a throng that's not apathetic waiting on you outside, so I appreciate your taking the time. And then what we're going to do, and that's Mr. Herbert Denard over there. He's a community activist. So we're going to piggyback on what you're doing, man. We got the NAACP and other organizations out there. So you're serving as a catalyst to keep this thing going. So if you would do it, just look in that camera and encourage everybody to vote, and I'll let you go in there. And what's the name of your book, by the way?
I have several. The last one is called Woman Up, is One Man Up.
Okay.
It's about deciding your life and your choices. It's talking about choices that both men and women make and how it impacts their life. So that's the latest book that's out. So it's written for men and women to really think deeper about the choices they make and the repercussions that those decisions make. Everything that we're living through right now politically is a repercussion. What happened with staying home from the election, Donald Trump, is a repercussion of that. Yeah. The Republican Party being in power is a repercussion of that. So sometimes I don't think we look beyond our choices, and that choice, for example, being not going out to vote. That was a choice. People made a choice not to vote, and so we're living with the repercussions of that right now. So what I would say to the family who's watching here is that I said this yesterday, and I think that it's something I want to emphasize more and more. We're not sufficiently angry. I don't know why we seem to be comfortable. I know maybe folks got their flat screen TV, they're watching their Netflix favorite program. Man, it's easy to get really comfortable and forget about the fact that there's a lot of people out there still suffering. I know they're talking about all these jobs that have been made available, but the incomes haven't come up. So yeah, people are working. They're working 2 or 3 jobs. That's what they're doing. So, and we're not thinking about the disease factor. There's the HIV rate, the diabetes. We're sicker than we've ever been. Now, we talk about all these other things that are going on positive in our community. The criminal justice system, horrible. I mean, now it's not only just for-profit prisons now, we have for-profit labor for municipalities now. So it's not just the corporations who are benefiting from men and women being in prison. Now the cities are starting to get in on it. So they're starting to get them to pick up the trash, starting to get them to rake the leaves. So they're taking jobs that these men could have had when they were out that would have prevented them from going in jail in the first place and getting it for free. So basically it's the new slavery. The prison system is now the new plantation. So there's so many issues out here. We talk about abortion rights. I don't know how you all feel about it one way or the other as Christians or whatever you want to label yourself as, but still it's about having choice. So there's a multitude of issues we're going to be talking about today. And I hope to get an education, because remember, the reason why I come out here is not so much just to inspire, but to learn so that I can then take that information and share it nationally and on my social media, which reaches 100 times more people than my radio show does. You know, we're at 50 million a month on my social media. So you're talking about reaching the whole world. So the more information I get from what's happening locally, the more I can talk about what's happening and give people an opportunity to respond. Because sometimes we got to take responsibility for the fact that people are just not aware sometimes. The awareness level, you got to educate. You got to educate them, man. You have to make them aware of what's going on. Then we can make them responsible. If they don't know what's going on, how can they be responsible to act or react? So I'm excited, looking forward to talking to everybody, man. And don't forget to register to vote, and then make sure to get out and vote, and not just voting on the election day, because I know we like to make a celebration out of that, but that's a dangerous play. You can get sick, your car can break down, you end up something, a family emergency. If you do the mail-in ballot, you can have the ballot mailed to you, sit back, relax, take your time filling it out, and then of course,
early vote. You can go vote early.
There you go. So get out and vote.
Well, this is a call to action. I'm your host, Alex Habersham, having interviewed the bad boy of radio, Mr. Michael Baisden.
I'm really good.
Thank you, sir. I got some.
www.makingblackpages.com.
It's not always easy to find a table or make time to sit at the table or have the courage to come to the table. So here's your chance to set the table. On the Table encourages you to talk about topics relevant to local residents. Then take what you learn from each other and create solutions that use our talents and ideas together. On Wednesday, October 17th, put your voice on the table and engage in this day of community-wide conversation. Be among those who set the table for positive change by serving as a host, where you coordinate the invitations, time, place, and public or private setting. Your table can be anywhere, in a residence, restaurant, community center, place of worship, park, library, or around a water cooler. It can be coffee, going Dutch, or simply bringing a sack lunch. Food is optional. This is for our thoughts, where conversations flow and ideas emerge from each other. Interested? Go to onthetable.macon.com. Already know you want to be a host? Learn more at onthetable.macon.com. Want to host 10 or more tables? Be a super host. Learn more at onthetable.macon.com. Your voice matters. All of our voices matter. On the Table, all day. October 17th, 2018. On the Table is spearheaded by the Community Foundation of Central Georgia, made possible with generous funding from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation.
What inspires or motivates you to be involved in the community and or your neighborhood? This is a good question.
What do we do well? How can we use these things to strengthen our community?
What do you say when you are bragging about Macon Bibb?
What is one idea that you can take action on to move our community forward?
If you only had $100 and one day, what would you do to strengthen our community?
What inspires or motivates you to be involved in the community and or your neighborhood?
What do you say when you are bragging about Macon-Bibb County? What do we do well? How can we use those things to strengthen our community? The thing that I brag most about as it relates to Bibb County is its location. We are in a phenomenal and optimum location. You know, we are right in the middle of the state. We've got 2 interstates that are merging here, and we've got water, we've got land, and we've got entities that's designed to develop. It's just an opportune place to do business. And in doing business, it's also an opportune place to live. So we need to just, roll up our sleeves, get together, and build the community based on the resources that we already have. On the table is important because it gives members of the community an opportunity to sit down, give their ideas, feel involved, and then work together to make it a better community. One thing that I would like to do is to get the religious community more involved in these conversations. So I will be inviting people like from neighborhood associations and fraternities and sororities and entities that, have an express purpose of being concerned about the community, but have not had the opportunity to really be involved. In order to really accomplish things, people got to have buy-in. And in order for them to have buy-in, or in order for them to buy into what's going on, they feel like they need to be a part of it. They need to participate. They need to think that, what I say is important. They need to feel like somebody is listening to them. So the mere fact that people will have an opportunity to express their feelings about our community, I think will be measurably beneficial. So I think it's a great idea, and I'm looking so forward to it.
www.makingblackpages.com